The Ryen Russillo Show is presented by DraftKings. We have a lot for you, a lot of football. Greg Olsen from Fox, he is pumped and jacked for Seattle at LA. It's his favorite matchup of the entire season, so we'll get into why that matchup is going to be so much fun, what he thinks of Darnold, continuing this run, this Rams personnel stuff that he can't wait for, so he's really good on that. We get some other stuff on the Monday night matchup, which was a disaster. Look, I have a Caleb Williams theory that I'm going to throw at him as well. NBA, Nico Harrison is out. My thoughts on that. And we share with you our NBA 10 good minutes that's usually exclusively on YouTube, but we're going to do it here in the podcast so you know what you're missing. All of your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. Wemby's fourth quarter the other night, incredible. The fast-paced Miami Heat, also not expected. I love Kon Kneuppel, and I'm going to spend some time talking about that. And you have Paolo taking on MSG tonight. That's a little tease for you. The Magic Minute will not be on the pod today, but the Magic Boys, we're back. Very positive about Orlando tonight. With more markets open for more of the game, DraftKings, the number one sportsbook for live betting, is live when others aren't. Bet quarters, player props, scoring runs, and more, all while the action unfolds. New customers bet just $5 to get 3 months of NBA League Pass, plus score $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Ryen, R-Y-E-N. That's code Ryen, R-Y-E-N. Bet $5 to get 3 months of League Pass, plus get $300 in bonus bet if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Chill.
Buy now and get the Russillo hoodie free. Call 1-800
European Theater.
The week is the Oregon Duck. We need a big push here.
Nico Harrison's out as general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, fired yesterday. There were rumblings that this was going to happen. They've got off to a terrible start. Granted, they're not healthy, so I don't know how good they were actually supposed to be. And Mavs fans get exactly what you've wanted since this Luka trade happened. But, I mean, it's still kind of sad. Like, you got the guy out that did this horrible thing to your franchise, but Luka's still playing for the Lakers. So that part's never going to be fixed. So even if, like, hey, he's gone, it's like, yep. Have fun this year while the other guy's playing for the Lakers. I remember the first time I heard the phrase "the masses are asses." I was young. I think we like it. I think it's had some staying power because it's rhyming. You know, whenever you can get some sort of phrase to rhyme, it's like, okay, that's going to work. I think Alexander Hamilton, it's attributed to him. Who knows? The guy invented a ton of stuff. He was a pretty busy cat. But you don't need to go to Broadway to learn how impactful he was. But I'm understanding. Like the first time, and you were probably pretty young. I was pretty young the first time you heard it. It's like somebody's explaining to you. It's like, no. When everybody is on the same page, this mob mentality, when everyone is on the same page as something is happening, like there's so many times throughout history where you're like, yeah, everybody was wrong. And in the moment when we're emotional about things, you know, whether it's certain things politically that you care about, there can be different economic things. I mean, look, bloodletting in medicine, you're like, yep, cut them open, time to bloodlet. That everybody was on the same page with that for a really long time. Luckily, we don't do that anymore. Well, as much, but it makes you realize that, you know, in that moment, and then years removed from this thing that you thought was so important and everybody was convinced was right, like years later, you're like, oh man, all of us were wrong about that. And it's just easy because you're like, okay, whatever, moving on. And it's also going to be really scary when it seems like everybody's on the same page about something that everybody's kind of worked up about. And you're like, yeah, this actually might not be that bad. I think the mascot's name is... So you can almost feel like, I don't know that I agree with everybody on this, but you just don't even want to be that guy, especially now when you have access to share all of these thoughts. And you're like, well, I don't even feel like doing this right now, even if I disagree with everybody. Then you have the Luka trade, where literally every fucking person agrees in the moment, emotional or not, that I cannot believe somebody is doing this. I couldn't believe it when it happened. We all thought it was fake. It wasn't fake. We're like, what's the deal? I'm like, oh my God, the deal is even worse. What was the market? Oh, wait, there was no market. So you decided to get Luka out of there and trade him to one team. And I want to run through all that stuff again. It's, I mean, of all the reasons why this was terrible, and again, I want to revisit these because I still can't believe it. You're trading Luka, who from his second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth year made all first team NBA 5 times in a row from his second season on. Your favorite player. I mean, look, not Jordan. Sorry. But a lot of your greats, some of your all-time favorite players, Hall of Famers, they're lucky if they have 3 all first team NBAs in their entire career. And this guy, year 2 through 6, has 5 straight. So it's not just trading him. It's also that he didn't create a market. Like that's the part that drives me crazy with any of this kind of stuff. It's like, all right, so you want to do this? You're wrong. Okay, but you want to do this because you just love mama mentality? I'm like, all right. Like, yeah, Luka could be in better shape. All right. Yeah, it's fine. All right. Well, then call everyone. No, I'm just going to call one team. And I don't care about what was reported after the fact that, well, no, they had asked about like Minnesota. The way it was relayed to me, and it's not like I'm talking to every single team, but, you know, in the gossipy world that is the NBA, it's like, what did you hear about this or whatever? And then one of the stories was like, they had called to ask for another team's best player without ever even mentioning Luka. So guess what that team did? And I don't know if they were doing that as cover to say, hey, if this goes bad, we could say we reached out to all these different teams. There has not been enough information since this trade to have leaked out to give us like a real specific roadmap to where there were other opportunities out there. And some of the stuff that I've read, I think is pretty thin, to be honest with you. So you have this relationship between Nico and Pelinka. That goes back to the agent days, to Nico being involved with Nike and negotiating these big deals, like a really, really successful guy. Where, again, the whole motivation of bringing Nico in too, a lot of it was thinking outside the box, and that somebody that would have these long-term relationships with some of the biggest stars because of all of his work at Nike, and that would give the Mavs an advantage. And boy, did that not work out. Well, I guess you could say it worked out with Kyrie because Kyrie's probably been the most stable version of him since his first years in Cleveland to the years in Dallas. Like the Kyrie acquisition ended up being a really good acquisition. I mean, there's actually a lot of stuff on Nico's resume where you're like, that was a good trade. That worked out. That worked out. None of it matters because of this. So you want to trade Luka, but then you don't want a bidding war. And I remember reading the stuff. It was like, you know, we knew we had to keep this quiet. We were like, yeah, Pelinka knew he had to keep it quiet. You should have fucking run an ad in the newspaper. Maybe not print. Whatever. Like, if you're really going to do this, don't make it a secret. Let everyone know that you're going to do it. So you've got the resume of Luka, you've got the lack of a market, and then it's the decision on the players that you bring back. You don't like Luka's work ethic? You're worried about his injury history? Okay, fine. Then don't trade him for AD, whose injury history is worse and is 6 years older. All right? And you get back one pick because you let Pelinka work you on contract uncertainty. Like, that's the thing. Like, again, it's not apples to apples when people are like, Desmond Bane gets 4 first rounders and Luka gets 1. Well, right. AD is in the trade, so you can't just do that. But guess what? You can do better than 1 in 2029. I know Max Christie's a nice little player, but still, like, your whole thing is, I don't really trust this guy. And you trade him for somebody in Anthony Davis who doesn't even want to play the right position, and from a health standpoint, can't be trusted. So I look at this and you go, okay, you know, I really do hate this for Mavs fans. I don't care about the Mavericks, right? But I hate this for you because you wanted Nico out. You finally got him out. But how did this happen? This drive-by GM who, it's almost like worse now, though, if you think about it. Like, yeah, he's gone, but this guy got to come in, run the team, do this to you, and now he gets to leave? But I know that's what you wanted. But the whole reason this was even possible is you had new ownership coming in that didn't understand the NBA. They didn't understand this transaction. They didn't understand. I mean, look, clearly the people involved in this ownership, and Patrick Dumont, who's come on and spoke a few times, and you know, the one time when he had said, like, hey, I grew up with these players and respected their work ethic and all this kind of stuff, and he named Shaq, and every single one of us that have loved the NBA for years are like, maybe not the best example on talking about giving it your all during the offseason and making sure that you're in shape. But this trade doesn't happen unless you have ownership that doesn't understand it. So, like, there's this it's not a power vacuum, it's this knowledge vacuum. And so, the owners are running these teams. Okay. There are very few GMs that can just go to their owner and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Sorry, but this is one of the transactions where, you just wonder if their lack of basketball understanding allows Nico to go in and be like, I'm going to sell you on this deal, and this is why this is going to work, and we're going to do all these things. I mean, that's clearly what happened, and you had to have new ownership in place for anyone to even attempt something this audacious. I mean, anytime, like, there should be a simple rule. If you're proposing a trade and ownership's like, what the fuck do you want to do? That should be a no. And this ownership group is taking responsibility somewhat. I think the firing was like, we need to just turn the page so people can stop being so pissed off that he still has the job the entire time. But if I'm a Mavs fan, like, I'm way more pissed off watching this guy tear up the league in an entirely different uniform because this guy had a problem with our guy. And part of the job when you're in power is getting over your issues with the most talented employees. You could be like, yeah, this guy's a pain in the ass, but damn, does he do numbers. I still can't believe it happened. Every time I watch Luka, I'm like, how did this happen? And we know how it happened. We've been through the history, and I'm sharing it with you here again. I don't know what's next for Nico. I don't know what's next for the roster. I mean, some people have speculated that getting rid of Nico means they can get out of the way of an AD extension that was probably going to come even if he was in a walking boot, because they had to double down on the whole decision to do this, which would have made it even worse. So is AD healthy, valuable? Of course he is, but that's challenging. And if they're going to rebuild, we can then re-enter the Kyrie conversation of like, what's that going to be like? I do like when people say like, well, they have that Duke connection. Oh, you mean the place they both played at like 1 year, separated by more than a decade? Yeah, I'm sure they're fucking best friends. So there's some basketball stuff that you have to ask, and they don't have control of any of their picks except for what, this year. So they've got serious issues. There's like, they have control of like one pick through 2030. If I were Nico, I'd have a hard time like going on TV. I do picture him maybe in like 7 years sitting down with Malika Andrews. She's like, what was it like? It's like, Malika, it was tough. It was a tough year after the trade. I don't think you could ever hire him as a GM again, ever. And, he's probably going to get a really good gig somewhere else, but I don't know how any ownership group, like 5 years down, like say he works somewhere else, he's doing advanced scouting, nobody even knows what's going on. Then 5 years later, he pops back up on the scene. I mean, we see insane comeback stories in sports with who's running teams, who's coaching teams, but I don't know if you can do it with this. And I think the frustrating part now, as you've at least been able to kind of turn one page in whatever this is, or however many pages you are into the book of what the Mavs are right now, is that you hope ownership learned a really, really valuable lesson. Unfortunately, a lesson that can never be fixed. He's one of the best in the business. You get to check him out every Sunday for the NFL season on Fox. And of course, the man behind You Think, Youth.Inc., which we'll ask him a little bit about again at the end of this. It's Greg Olsen. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. It's always good to be on.
I want to start with the Monday night game. I normally wouldn't do this a Wednesday removed from Monday night, but that was a tough watch if you like the offense. There was part of me that was enjoying just how unstoppable the defense was, how many playmakers were out there just wrecking the game. But I think we start on the Green Bay side, because then it becomes a floor conversation of like, hey, how can this team, and I understand like Kraft being out is a huge problem because he was just off the charts production for tight ends this year, but how can it look that bad? And then you pay the penalty of being the primetime game, where now everybody's looking at Green Bay a lot differently than we were 2 weeks ago when they were the 1 seed. Now they're in third place in their division.
Yeah, and it goes back a week earlier. I was in Lambeau when they lost, that upset loss to the Panthers. And it was kind of the same story offensively. In the Panther game, they moved the ball a lot better. They were a lot more efficient. They were 1 for 5 in the red zone. It was a field goal contest. And, we could go on and on about the value of field goals in today's NFL. And that's a whole nother conversation. But you kick field goals, you're going to lose. Then they had a couple they had a turnover in the red zone, and it pretty much just fell apart that, they only scored, 13 points or whatever. So, and then it carried over to the Monday night game. And I think coming off the loss to Carolina, I think the assumption was, all right, they're going to get back to putting the ball in Jordan Love's hands, be a little bit more aggressive on first and second down, push the ball downfield. And they really didn't. It really became first down run, second down run, and wait for third down and just play for third down. And that had been something that LaFleur had been so good over time. But even earlier this year is he doesn't want to play third down. Like, he was so aggressive on first and second down earlier in the year, converting new sets of downs before you get to third down. That's, it's a McVay, LaFleur, like a lot of these top play callers. That's what they're trying to do. The notion of, hey, let's just get to third and manageable, third and medium, and we'll convert. Like, that's just not a sustainable model to score points in the NFL. So they did it again. They continue to kind of wait till third down to let Jordan Love rip it. And teams continue to control the run game. They're not an overly efficient run blocking team. So they're very, they're off marks. They're in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8. That's a really hard down to operate in. And it kind of steamrolls. And then defensively, they're playing really well. They're stopping the run. The last 2 games, they've given up 20 points and they've lost. So it really comes down to now, I think you got to let Jordan Love rip it. I think you've got to let him put the ball in his hands on first and second down, get back to your play pass, get back to your under center play action, put layers into the defense, and stop waiting for third down to become a passing team.
Is there, like, I guess I just always, like, if LaFleur is this guy, then are we to a point where the criticism's actually, like, reasonable, or is the criticism coming from people that actually are not understanding, like, a full game plan against a matchup?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think LaFleur has not forgotten how to call offensive plays. I mean, he's had that offense in Green Bay play really well at, his over the pretty much the extent of his career. I know there's been some, ebbs and flows with quarterback transitions and some of the way Rodgers ending and all that, but still, like, Rodgers, two-time MVP in that system. We saw Jordan Love start this season and last year play really well in that system. So Matt LaFleur hasn't all of a sudden forgotten how to call plays and how to build an offense. So I think the notion that people are saying he's coaching for his job, I think, is complete nonsense. I think half the league would hire him yesterday to be their head coach. They are in a little bit of an identity crisis right now where he's looking around. He's saying, all right, I don't have Tucker Kraft. I don't have Reed. I don't have some of my, I don't have the first round pick. Some guys left. They have a lot of wide receivers, a lot of young wide receivers that they've hit on, but, like, are any of them superstars? Or any of them the guy you say, okay, this is a critical moment, I'm going to. Christian Watson is that guy in the deep passing game where they just give him chances to run under the ball, kind of low percentage throws. But I think he's in that Philly game saying, my defense is playing really well. Don't turn the ball over. At some point, one of these runs is going to pop. And it just didn't. And I think when you take a step back, and whether it's Green Bay or you just look around the league, the correlation between scoring points is directly connected to the ability to throw the ball and the ability to generate explosive plays, especially on first and second down. And I think they got to get back to that. I think they got to get back to that style. Trust Jordan Love. Trust that he's a top quarterback in this league, and value his ability to make good decisions.
Is the secret from that game, like, Hurts gets the win? And look, we had Sheil Kapadia on pod earlier this year, who I love and covers Phillies from Philly. And I was like, I just don't know about Hurts. Like, I can't believe people are mad that he's ranked only, like, 9th best. And the number, I think, was something absurd. He's like, well, they won like 20 games in a row with him as a starter. And you're like, yeah, it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to be like,
yeah.
But I didn't think he was any good in that game either. Like, he hits the open side of Devontae Smith on the touchdown. It just feels like the completions are, did someone stop and turn around? Like, I don't know that there's throwing people open. I don't know. I guess in 25, I'm having this epiphany of, like, it doesn't seem right to be questioning a guy that's played in 2 Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl. But I think that's where we can make mistakes about who some of these guys are. And I just feel like this offense for Philly, despite the resume, is incredibly limited. Just as well, look, I don't know if it's as limited as Green Bay, but it felt like it was kind of like a one-play game, and it was the Devontae Smith touchdown, and the rest of that was ugly for everybody.
Well, it's funny. The big picture answer is in the NFL, quarterbacks probably get too much blame when they lose, and they probably get too much credit when they win. Right. So that's not unique to Jalen Hurts. That's not unique to any individual. That's just kind of the nature in which we evaluate quarterbacks. It is a win-loss type evaluation for the quarterback position. Are you a Super Bowl champ? You must be a great quarterback. And then it's obviously the same thing on the flip side. They do seem, I've seen Jalen Hurts play games like Monday night where it just doesn't seem like anyone's doing anything. Saquon's not going anywhere. You look outside and you see A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and you see the two tackles that nobody can seem to get by in Lane Johnson and Mailata, and you look around and you say, how is this not the best offense in football? How are they not scoring at least 25 points a game? If not, you think it's a 30-point offense. But then when you really dive in, I've also seen him take over games. And I've seen him this year, just a few weeks ago, play the best ball that I've seen Jalen Hurts play probably at least the end of last year, if not even earlier, like pushing the ball downfield, throwing, escaping pressure, not taking sacks, extending plays with his legs, scramble drill, play in rhythm, like checking all the boxes of playing high-level football. I almost feel like at times when they know their defense has control of the game, they go into, okay, let's hold serve. We'll just rally the point back and forth over the net. And then there's the one game winning play. And on Monday night, it's the deep pass that he connects with Devontae Smith. It's all they need to win the game. And they walk off and they check another win column. So like, it almost feels like that's their style, where it's like, hey, let's push this to whatever degree we need to push it to win the game. We're going to play to that level. And that way we don't turn the ball over. We don't make mistakes. And it's hard to argue with the result, right? Like to your
I feel
point,
stupid.
like it's hard.
And like you were raving, and what was the Vikings game that you had?
Yeah.
And like the way you were talking about him, I'm like, okay, this is the version of him that maybe I expect too often or whatever. But You're right. Like I feel like a dummy going, yeah, he might not be the guy. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like what's the point of any of this?
In the Vikings game, he was incredible. The second half of the Rams game, this was way back. This was probably, God, I had the Rams Philly game this week, like 3 or 4. I mean, it was early in the season. First half, they did nothing. The Rams dominated the game. If the Rams could have scored a touchdown in the red zone, they would have been up by 2-3 touchdowns. Second half, he comes out, vertical passing game to A.J. Brown. He's hit. And next thing you know, they erupt. They come from behind and they beat the Rams. So like we see it in flashes. We see it in spurts. And like the simplest way to put it is like we almost see it. We only see it when they need it. Right. And then like they have the ability to like downshift or, and get into the gear that they need to win the game. And if there's one thing that Philly has proven, they can win multiple different styles. If it gets into a shootout, they've won them. If it gets into a game where the passing game's not rolling, especially down the playoffs last year to the Super Bowl, Saquon and the explosive run game took over that run. Run game's not doing good. They can win a low-scoring game because the defense is as good as anybody in the league with Fangio and some of those new pieces. So, like, I've always said on every game that I call about Philly, the best way to sum them up is they're probably the most difficult beat in football. And they've been this for 2-3 years because there's no one clear path to beating them. If you have an advantage in one area, they have 2 other scenarios that they can find a way to win the game. That's the sign of good teams. Are they dominating people? No. But the idea is just to win as many games as humanly possible, and they seem to pull them out.
I want you to kind of take the lead on this because you've got Seahawks and the Rams. We're all like super pumped. I mean, this is like kind of the marquee game. You're like, all right,
yeah.
I have to make sure I'm locked in for this one. As you're prepping for this game, like what's standing out to you as part of some of the storytelling that you're going to share with us on the broadcast, like the stuff you're looking for, the things you're thinking about this week?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've looked forward to a game. I mean, Super Bowls and playoffs and some of those, but just like a regular season game, we're still in November. We're not even around the holidays, playoff time and all that. This is the best football game of the year. Now, we'll see how the game unfolds. We'll see what the score is and how everybody, but just storylines, quarterback play, coaching, styles, storylines, the chess match of how each of these teams have built their offense, and then how it obviously gets complemented on the defensive side of the ball. So, of course, quarterback driven, right? You can make an argument of in my mind, 3 of the 4 top MVP candidates in my mind, and I guess people could argue against it. 3 of them are quarterbacks. It's Drake May, it's Stafford, it's Darnold, and it's Jonathan Taylor. Like, to me, those are the 4. You could probably extend it to 5 or 6. Some guys have had great years, but in my mind, those are the 4. 3 of them are quarterbacks. 2 of them are in this game. We could go on and on about the years that Darnold and Stafford, and they're throwing the ball downfield and accuracy. And we can go on and on statistically about what good quarterback play is being played. And those 2 guys are like 1 and 2 in pretty much every category. And then Drake May, obviously he's in the mix. When you talk about just style of play, so we'll start with the Rams. For years with Stafford at the Rams with McVay, they've been 11 personnel. It's been 3 wide receivers. It's been Cooper Kupp, obviously Puka Nacua, and they've been getting you in 1 back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers, and they were going to run under center, what we would more call like base run game. But we were going to get little people on the field because I'm in little people. I'm in 11, so you're going to play nickel against me. And then we're going to all line up in tight splits. We're going to use motions and shifts. We're going to add gaps to the defense. And I'm going to run like 2 back, 2 tight end type runs. But I'm going to do it with all wide receivers. And it was a really difficult challenge because now you had to ask yourself, am I willing to sit here and defend this elaborate run game in nickel? And all of a sudden there's some gashes and some explosives. But you definitely don't want to play them in big bodies because now the passing game, you can't defend all these receivers. That had been McVay's system. And over the last 5 weeks, call it, they have morphed into this really unique 3 tight end, 13 personnel style of offense that very few teams are doing it. The Bills do it a decent amount. And what they're saying is, we are going to force you out of nickel. We are going to, not only by going 12, where we can make a debate. I still think everyone should play nickel defense to 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. But they're saying, I got 3 on the field. You cannot play me with 5 defensive backs, 2 linebackers, and 4 down if I have 3 tight ends on the field. So they're like forcing your hand to play me big. And then the play action, the ability to run these concepts, the same concepts they've run out of 11 for years. They're now running the same run game and the same passing game to a degree. It's just an entirely new presentation of who is on the field. For years, we'd mask plays by formations. We'd say, all right, we love this play. How many formations can we do it out of? Now, these really good offensive minds are saying the next level of presentation is personnel groupings. How do we do these in unconventional personnel groupings to stress the guys that now you have on the field to match my personnel? So that's, to me, a really fascinating story. The Seahawks want to play light boxes. They want to play nickel. The style and play in which they have, they've got 5 really good defensive backs. Their front is nasty. They're deep. They're talented. They're really dynamic. And McDonald's one of the best defensive minds in the game. And he wants to control it with his front, control it with his 2 off backers, and then play 5 defensive backs. Not every play, but virtually every play. Well, that's a fascinating chess match now, because all of a sudden now I get you into base, which no one plays less of than Seattle. And now you're playing a style of defense that you don't want to be in, but you almost feel like your hand is forced. So I think that is the matchup when LA has the ball. And then it's a very similar conversation when Seattle has the ball. They're doing it in 2 tight ends. They're just doing it in 12. People are playing them at such a high percentage of base personnel. There is not a better passing game in the league than the Seattle Seahawks. And the vast majority of their success is coming with just 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends in the field, because everyone has this illusion of stopping the run. When Seattle is a solid run game, their success this year has been the deep passing game, the explosive plays to Jackson Smith and Jigba, Darnold throwing the ball downfield, but they're a volume run game out of big people. So there's this idea of like, we can't let them run the ball down our throat and play nickel. Like, that would question my toughness. That would question my defensive integrity. And meanwhile, these teams are just hanging themselves because They're so worried about stopping a run game that's not going to score 30 on you. And now all of a sudden you look at the last week's game and they got 35 at halftime. So it's just the chess match, the back and forth. Some of the best minds in football are a part of this game. And like I said, I'm not sure if I've ever been more excited to like dive into some of these really fun football conversations during a broadcast than I have for this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of even more pumped than I was before we started talking to you now. But specific to Darnold, and I always ask this because I know it's stuff that I don't understand. It's like, okay, well, the system, right? So like he comes out, he actually makes an incredible first impression. I don't know if it's a Jets thing, I don't know if it's on him, but like there clearly was enough talent and everybody loved Sam enough where he was known as a guy. So you can bring him in, it's not going to disrupt your QB room. Like you can bring him in if he's not the man, despite being the man in the past, like he's going to be okay with that transition from a personality standpoint, even if it's incredibly disappointing. But then when Minnesota turns the page on him, you're like, I wonder if this is going to go from like, hey, remember when Darnold was like in play for MVP, but then they decided to go with the draft pick, which makes a ton of sense. But like, what's this going to, for him to look better? He's even better this year than he was last year. The contract now looks like a steal because the way that contract was structured, it was clear that it was, we like you, but we're still not 100% sure either. So we're not going to go do a deal like some of those other guys. Can you speak to specifically, like, is it just like what they were running with the Vikings? I can't imagine that. Like, what are they doing that's similar, that's different? How have they been able to make this go in a way where Darnold's at a tier that I didn't think he was? I just didn't think that this was going to change. I didn't think the change was going to lead to him becoming even better than he was in 24.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that he could play better than when he won 14 games a year ago. And I think so many people wanted to focus on the final regular season game. I think it was against Detroit for the division, right? And then obviously the playoff game against the Rams was tough. The sacks, they got to him. The pressure got, this Rams defense is nasty. I mean, we could talk about hitting on draft picks year after year on defense. And again, a separate we could do a 3-hour podcast on this game because there's 15 different cool storylines that these teams have done.
I can't believe the hit rate with some of these Rams defenders. Like they're nailing every single one of these guys.
Every one of them. It's remarkable. And again, a whole separate topic. But to your point about Darnold, I think that left a idea like, all right, is this real? Is this sustainable? Is this something that we could see carrying on outside of Kevin O'Connell, who had kind of gotten that quarterback whisperer, label with what he did with Kirk Cousins. And then when Cousins got hurt, he was able to keep that ship afloat with a myriad of players at the quarterback position. And then he does it again with Darnold and so on and so forth. When you talk about styles, right? Like styles are such an important part of developing young quarterbacks. The old phrase, like organizations fail young quarterbacks more than young quarterbacks fail organizations. I think we are seeing this come to life more and more with Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. And we could go on and on about these guys that get second chances in new places. And not only are they just good, they flourish. They live up to that original number 1 overall pick, top 5 pick, like draft pedigree that we saw just a few years ago. So when you talk about styles, it's the same bucket of offense, right? And again, Kevin O'Connell is going to call it slightly different than Kyle Shanahan, who's going to call it slightly different than Clint Kubiak. But they all share that same philosophy. They are all going to share getting under center. They're going to build 2-back run game. They're going to want to play in heavy personnel. They're going to want to throw the ball downfield because they understand the value of explosive plays. The more explosive the run game can be, the more bullets, I had, who told me this last week, Ben Johnson told me, he goes, we only get 65 plays a game. I'm not going to waste the bullet on like a wasted play, right? So that's always like stuck with me. So you look at these guys like, yes, they want to run the ball. And you can run the ball if you're going to generate chunk plays because an explosive run play now has equal value in the idea of scoring points that like a traditional pass play would have, right? That's the equivalency of a run versus a pass when people talk about the value of the run game. When you can be an explosive run game, some of these 49ers offenses we've seen over the years, McVay over the years, yes, it makes sense to allocate a bunch of the snaps, right? You only get so many calls to the run game. So with Clint Kubiak, we saw him do it early on last year he took the league by scoring 90-something points in his first 2 games as a play caller of the Saints. They want to be under center. They want to be heavy play action. They are going to play action, even if the run game's not doing good. Like, they are going to mix run and pass are going to look exactly the same. The presentations are going to align, and they are going to hunt explosive plays every single snap. And what looks like a wasted play, what looks like a why would you run a two-back handoff for 1 yard is all under the idea of we are a passing team that is pretending to want to be a run team. And that is the entire blueprint of this entire system. Kevin O'Connell, Shanahan, Ben Johnson, all these top play callers that are heavy run. Oh, they run so much. They run so much. They want you to think they're a run team. They want to present themselves as a run team because Sam Darnold's strengths are under center, turn his back to the defense, hard play action fake, throw deep overs, deep crosses. Last year it was to Justin Jefferson and Addison. This year it's Jackson Smith and Jigba. They just get Shaheed at the trade deadline. Like, it all has a lot of very similar characteristics. They're playing to the strengths of their quarterback, and their quarterback accentuates the strength and the philosophy of Clint Kubiak in this style of offense. When Kubiak was in San Francisco a couple years ago, Brock Purdy had his best season. I think it was either 23. Yeah, it was 23 before he went to New Orleans. Like, it's not a coincidence that this style of offense brings out the best in these quarterbacks, and vice versa. These quarterbacks allow these teams to play the style of offense that we know around the league is the most efficient, it's the most explosive, it's the best for the quarterback, it's the best for the offensive line, and it all goes hand in hand. So I think it's brilliant to pair who they brought as the play caller, who they brought as the quarterback, to go along with a defensive-minded coach like McDonald, who also is very progressive in his thought process. So it's just a really good marriage. And through 10 weeks, they look like the best team in the league.
I want to ask you about Chicago's comeback win against the Giants. You had that game. I was on the couch. You know I'm locked into you. And it was that 4th and goal decision for the Giants. They're up 17-10 in the fourth quarter. Russell Wilson's come in. Jackson Dart's left with a concussion. They went run, and then Wilson ran it. And I made the point on Monday, when he got tackled, even though it was for a yard, like, his body stopped in a way that you were like, the escapability doesn't appear to be there. He also had that slide that was short of the line of scrimmage to the right side where he couldn't even get an angle on the outside defender, and he just like slid down or whatever. So you hate field goals. Fair?
I love game-winning field goals. I love strategic field goals. I don't love field goals under the notion of take the points. I hate the phrase take the points. I hate when commentators say it. I hate when coaches say it. I hate when media says it. I don't know what take the points means. That it doesn't make sense to me, but I wouldn't say I hate them. I hate goal to go field goals where I'm getting 3 points and then I got to go kick off, and we can get into the kickoff rules and how that changes strategy because of field position and whatnot. But it's a deeper conversation. But generally speaking, unless it's to win the game or end of half scenario or just a 4th and unreasonably long, a goal to go situation, I'm in 4 down mode until I just can't feasibly go for it anymore, and I'll take 3 points. But from the half-yard line, well, it was the 1 yard line, too many men on the field, could have accepted the penalty, reattempted 4th down from the now half the distance, which would have been the half-yard line, and they declined the penalty and extended it to 20-10. I don't know if they got another meaningful first down. They might have gotten one at the end in that last drive. But the next 2 drives, they went 6 plays, -3 yards. Caleb punted it back to them. They punted it back to Caleb. He went touchdown, 2-minute drive for no real reason, and they won 24-20. Like, that was the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument to be said for 2 scores because you don't know that your defense is going to fall apart like that in the fourth quarter. I think it was a real Russell Wilson in the red zone decision. I think it's like, hey, let's throw out the
one thing I will say, though, and it's important to remember, right? Everyone worries about how the drive ended, which was getting stopped at the 1 on a scramble. But they don't remember they went 70 yards, 75 yards to get to the goal to go situation, right? Like, I know it was a nice catch and run. The
It was
kid
a
broke a
screen,
tackle.
but they were running it. There's like 3 nice chunk runs in there too.
Yeah, so like however they got down there in the first drive that Russell Wilson took over for Jackson Dart, who gets the credit? It doesn't matter. The reality was they drove the entire length of the field and had the ball goal to go and eventually goal to go at the 1 yard line. So the offense hadn't collapsed up until that point just because Jackson Dart went out. Now, the following 2 possessions, they were not competitive. But up until that field goal, the offense just went the entire length of the field and only came away with 3 points. So, and then again, the argument is to go up by 2 scores. But 2 scores beat you, right? Like, I think in today's world, we have to stop saying an 8-point game. How many times do you hear people say an 8-point game is a 1-score game? Well, the 2-point conversions, give or take a 50-50. It fluctuates every year, a few percentages. It's only a 1-score game 50% of the time. But we just throw out these notions of like, hey, we're going to get it to 8. It's a 1-score game. It's just not true. It's not a foregone conclusion. Kicking an extra point is a 95+% proposition in the NFL these days. A 2-point conversion is a flip of a coin. So the way we phrase the game, I think, at least the way I look at it, is we have to take great responsibility in how we phrase the game. So when I'm up 7, yes, kicking a field goal technically makes it a 2-score game. But as we found out, if you score twice, and I consider scoring touchdowns, you're up by 2 scores. I scored twice. How did I win? Because you weren't really up 2 scores.
Right.
You were up 1 score and a field goal. They're not the same. They're not equal. Now, if there was 3 minutes to go in the game, of course you kick the field goal because I'm not playing the score anymore. I'm playing how many reasonable possessions do you have?
Yeah.
Those are 2 different things. But there was like 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The Bears were going to get 3, if not, I think they ended up getting 3 possessions after the field goal. And some of them were real long and sustained. So you can make an argument at the time of the field goal. You could say it's reasonable. Chicago could use the clock and get 4 possessions, but they're at least going to get 3. So being up 2 scores, if I get 3 possessions, like what good does that do me?
It's a very convincing argument. I think it was a Russell Wilson decision.
I don't want to go too deep. I don't disagree. If Jackson Dart's in there, they run some sort of quarterback counter. He had already run for 2 touchdowns. It's a different argument. I don't debate that at all. Do we have time to give you one other layer to this?
We have as much time as you want. This is great. So yeah, go for it.
The next layer to these conversations, 20 years ago, I kick a field goal from the 1 yard line. I kick the ball through the end zone. I mean, even 10 years ago, when the touchback used to be at the 20.
Right.
I would get 3 points. And on that scenario, I'd lose like 19 yards of field position. If I was 4th and goal to 5, I'd lose 15 yards of field position. I got 3 points. I kick to you. You now possess the ball at the 20, but I got 3 points. Okay. Reasonable, right? That's what we're all used to. Well, now as the kickoff rule has really changed, let's say the average starting field position across the league, if it is returned, is like give or take the 30. Some teams have it in like the low 20s. Some teams are over 30, but it's give or take on any given week. Say it's around the 30-yard line. If I kick a touchback, it's the 35-yard line. So the same scenario that we just had in the Giants game, I kick a field goal from the 1 yard line. If I failed, you would possess the ball at the -1. If I kick a field goal, you're going to possess the ball anywhere between the 30 and the 35. In the game, they returned it to the 36-yard line. So I gave up 35 yards. You possessed the ball 35 yards closer to the end zone, and all I got was 3 points. Is it worth it?
You're right. You're right about, I'm talking like, I think some of my frustration, because I want to get into some other things here, is that like, hey, 4th and 3, it comes up, it's go. And it's like, okay, but is it go for 10,000 simulations or is it go for us? Is it 4th and 3 go for us or
it's blackjack.
Go for everybody? And it is blackjack. It's not.
Remember,
like,
it's blackjack,
hey,
right? You can hit on 6. You can hit we've all sat next to the guy at the blackjack table and he's staying on 16 and he's
like that you
winning
said it that
and
way.
he's winning and he's winning. And you're like, this damn guy keeps winning. But I hit on 16 and I just get 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. It's the exact same thing. Whether you go for it or you don't go for it, gut instinct, like all coaches are going to do what they do. Sometimes all we have is, okay, what over long periods of time, if I pick one approach and I stick to it, over long periods of time, what is most likely going to tip the win percentage in my scale? That's all in my favor. That's all these coaches are trying to do.
There's something else I want to stand from that game because I do have a couple other things that I want to get to. I'm going to throw a theory at you. I like Caleb Williams. I loved him coming out. I obviously have been concerned. There have been some ups. There's been some downs. There's two numbers that are horrifying to me. He's the least aggressive thrower of any of the qualifying quarterbacks with a defender 1 yard or closer. Like he doesn't rip it. And that there's another number on expected yards that's really bad. But the lack of the aggressiveness based on this next gen stat, which again, some people could dump on if you want to. But what I see is a guy who dropped back and he does not want to rip it. So the escapability is off the charts. The Loveland throw was great. He had to win a shootout against Flacco. Running into the end zone was terrific. I'm not like pivoting, but I'm now entering sort of an alarmed phase with him where, and maybe I'm reading Ben Johnson wrong, but you had time around the team. And so the theory for me is a lot of this is really cool, but for the longevity, like to be the guy for 7 years here, the drop back, read, and rip it, like that has to start showing up because I don't see enough of that. I see somebody that's bailing. Maybe guys are just not open, but it appears to be somebody who's bailing on these reads probably a little bit quicker than Ben Johnson would like.
Yeah, so obviously it's a great point. That's the entire story. That's the entire narrative around the balance there of how do you play to a guy's strengths and play to some of the magic that we just saw on Sunday against the Giants that he single-handedly avoided probably 7 sacks.
It's unbelievable.
They just could not get him on the ground. Like if you didn't watch the game, like go back and just watch it. Like there is actually a clip going around social where like somebody edited like all of his escapability plays where he just avoids clear-cut sacks against Thibodeau and Brian Burns. Like some dudes who are pretty young, active pass rushers that can run, and he's just running away from them. With that being said, let's just say the spectrum of like playing on time and in rhythm, and it makes sense because it's obviously a Ben Johnson quarterback, is like Jared Goff, right? Jared Goff is going to play in rhythm, on time. What's my first read? Click, 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 and the ball is going to come out because he's not going anywhere. He knows that. The defense, everyone knows that. It's his style of play. He is an on-the-spot quarterback in drop-back game. Obviously, they'll boot him and stuff. But in a drop-back game, he is going to click, click, click until it's time to rip the trigger because he's not going to avoid the sack. He's not going to make Brian Burns miss and do a 360 and roll left and hammer a 20-yard dig route to Colston Loveland to convert a first down. Like, it's not his game. But he is like the epitome of in rhythm, on time, very predictable, and going to play within the confines. And that's why he had so much success in Ben Johnson's offense, because there's very few guys in the league in the category of Ben Johnson and McVay and some of these guys who can scheme open first reads and then make second, third, fourth a progression that is easy for the quarterback to click through. The other end of the spectrum is probably Caleb Williams. It is improv, it is off rhythm, off script. And while you are young and talented and athletic and strong, you are a very hard guy to get on the ground. I think if you asked Caleb Williams and when you talk to Ben Johnson, I think there is complete recognition that he's already come a little bit closer to a meet, like, he's come a little bit closer to the mean there. He's maybe not as scramble happy as he was even a year ago, granted, different system. There's still some work to go. He will never be the end of the spectrum like Jared Goff. It's just not who he is. It's not how his brain is wired. He's not going to beat free blitzers with a quick release, get the ball out to a 2-yard check down. He's going to try to make that guy miss, scramble to activate the play. So can they get him to a more reasonable middle ground? I think they all recognize and admit that is the best case for long-term sustainability, long-term success. It's hard to play scramble drill continuously week in, week out. I don't think anyone would pretend that that is what they want to be. The question is, can they reel it in enough that it's a more of a middle ground, but not lose when he has to be the magician and he has to make those plays we saw on Sunday, that you don't take that out of his game, right? It's a very fine line with that style of player. And I think that's the job of Ben Johnson. And, obviously he's one of the best in the league, one of the best in the business at doing that. He's going to get Caleb to play a little bit more in rhythm, in phase, without the fear of kind of neutering him from being what he's always been and the way his brain is wired. It's a delicate balance, but I think they recognize they have to try to find that equilibrium.
Let's talk matchups again, because I obviously love the Seattle-LA stuff here. The Colts, you could talk about the last couple of weeks and say, hey, they're turnover happy right now. They really took care of the football. Maybe it's a blip, couple bad weeks. Certainly Pittsburgh. Atlanta's just a weird team because they're going to fight with you the whole time. The Drake London show right now is just a brutal matchup. It feels like for everybody. So I look at that game in Berlin, travel, and it's like, hey, they came back and won this thing, and they won it in a different way by being able to just having Jonathan Taylor take over this whole thing. Do you look at the Colts as the 1 seed in the AFC and go, okay, hey, maybe they're out there representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, but there's a matchup that you don't like for them, where there's another one of those teams. It's like, hey, the Colts, if you're telling me they can avoid this team in the AFC playoffs, then I love their chances of getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think what's funny about the AFC coming into the year, all of the marquee quarterbacks, the Super Bowl, the preseason MVP candidates coming in the last couple of years, we're all in the AFC, right? You got Lamar, and Baltimore is always a contender. You got Josh Allen, the reigning, and Buffalo is always a contender. And then, of course, you got Mahomes, and they're always in the running, right? So, those were the big three, and they were all in the AFC, and their teams, as long as they're playing quarterback, are going to be Super Bowl contenders. And then coming into the year, it's like, all right, then there's Denver and there's the Chargers, and there's kind of that next crop of guys. And obviously Denver is having a great year. I don't know. That's a very bizarre record based on what the eyeball looks, but again,
we couldn't be more on the the same page on the Broncos. Nice defense. And again, love it.
Yeah. Oh, great defense. And again, I haven't pretended to have studied Denver. And I do I get a lot of the NFC games. I get a lot of the, the Phillies of the world and the Graham. So I wouldn't say I've dove in. I've watched them just as a casual fan, and you never apologize for your record in the NFL, but you also have to be able to look through the weeds a little bit and say, okay, who are these guys? So the AFC to me is very interesting because now you're seeing the Patriots come out of nowhere, and you're seeing Indianapolis, in essence, come out of nowhere. And what Jonathan Taylor's doing, Jonathan Taylor has been doing there, when healthy, pretty much his entire career. Right, this explosive run game, his ability to run for six, it's eerily similar to what we saw Saquon do last year in Philadelphia through that run, where the value of a run game in the playoffs is significantly more valuable than it is in the regular season. So regular season, it's typically, and there's always exceptions to this, right? So everyone likes to prove, well, what about this team? These are general rules across 32 teams over the course of multiple seasons. Typically, quarterback play, passing game are going to be the drivers of the best teams in the regular season, traditionally speaking. If you are historically good on the ground, if you are historically good on defense, you are always going to have a chance and be an outlier of the speaking. Once we strip away all the bad teams and we get to the playoffs, so here I'm going to answer your question. Once we get to the playoffs, defense, run game has significantly more impact on winning and losing than it does in week 6, than it does in a random matchup in week 11. It's over. Now it becomes super important. The ability to run the ball, conditions get bad, the weather gets bad. You're playing in northern climates. You're not in the dome. So all those factors. So if I say all of that to end with in regards to Indy, if they can continue to keep this style of play leading to wins in the regular season, Daniel Jones started out hot. Can they keep him in that play action game? Can they kind of play that same style we're seeing where they pair what they've done with Darnold? Can they continue to pair that play action game, that deep passing game, let big Daniel Jones push the ball downfield, use his size, use his athleticism to complement Jonathan Taylor in this historical chunk run game. If that can stay alive in the regular season to get them to the postseason, I think that matchup in the postseason is a nightmare for a lot of teams, right? I know Kansas City's defense is very good. I don't know if Buffalo would love to face that run game. I mean, do I think Buffalo is better? Would I take Buffalo to win the game? Yeah, they got Josh Allen. They've been there before. It's a different ballgame. But as far as that matchup, a run game that is that good, we saw take over the Super Bowl champs last year on the run. Like Saquon Barkley's historic run game in the playoffs last year, and then in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts was awesome. But like the run to the Super Bowl was because Saquon was incredibly explosive, and he's running for 60, 70-yard touchdowns damn near every game. Are you going to do that for an entire regular season? Unlikely. But if you can make it to the playoffs, run game defense has a lot more value.
I have it's two theories on the Bills. One could be we get up for the big guys because we're sort of bored as a franchise. Like we've been right on the cusp. They shouldn't be bored because it's not like they've been in a couple Super Bowls here, right? But the Baltimore comeback is still one of the all-timers. It's one of the best games. I mean, it might still hold up to end up being the best game of the season. Kansas City, whatever the score was, that was a control game. Like they were in control of that, even if there's that scary 20 seconds left of like, is Mahomes actually going to figure out a way to do this again? You could even look at Miami. Even when Miami has been terrible, they're usually good for like one. I can't believe they won that game, a division game, that kind of thing. But the Atlanta game, the New Orleans game, and so like there's one working theory that I have with Buffalo where it's, are they getting up for the big games because they're just waiting to be in the playoffs where it's like, hey, check out the seating in the AFC. Like you may want to stop with that approach. Or maybe the simple thing is the defense is just not good enough. Like there's no way that this defense with Allen can get them through what looks like a lot more of a challenge now, like a lot of work to do depending on how the seating all shakes out. But if they're hanging out there as like a wild card team with that defense, that's asking a lot for a team that at the beginning of the year, you're like, it should come down to them and Mahomes.
Yeah, so certainly the Patriots being the Patriots this year has changed the things within the division, right? It's been a foregone conclusion. Right. The last couple of years, it was a foregone conclusion. You might stub your toe here and there, but pretty much if Josh Allen stays healthy, you're going to win the division and you're going to at least host one playoff game. Like that was pretty much like the base. That was the ground floor minimum the last couple years, barring a catastrophe, which obviously nobody wants to see. The New England Patriots being good changes the math a little bit now, as far as just running away with the division and just get up for Baltimore, get up for the Chiefs, get up for one or two other, and then cruise through your division. You're going to play Miami twice, you're going to beat them. You're going to play the Jets twice, you're going to beat them. You're going to play New England twice, and you're going to beat them. You're 6-0 when the season starts. Go 500 the rest of the way, and it's smooth sailing. Like that is not the season this year. That is not the way it's playing out. So I do think there is an element. This is a little bit of a different path. They haven't had this real resistance. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the division records, but like, I don't even know the last time. I mean, I guess Miami has made the playoffs as a while. I don't know if they were ever really a contender to beat.
Well, that was
Buffalo
the Kansas City year. Because it was kind of like, hey, yeah, but no one picked them.
No one thought they were going to go to Kansas City and win that game.
Right. Which is a huge ask, by the way. It's not even dissing them, but like as far as like being afraid of Miami, it's been a pretty long time.
Right. So the point being for the Bills, there is an element of human nature in the NFL where the biggest preventer of future success is current success. And when you put all of your eggs in the Super Bowl or bust basket, and I'm not saying internally, but that's like the message around the Bills is they've checked off every box. Win the division 1 million times, best player in football, McDermott's won 1 million games, great coach. All those things are true until they win that AFC championship and get to the Super Bowl. Forget winning the Super Bowl. Just get over the hump and get out of the AFC in the Mahomes, Lamar, that era. That's going to be the dark cloud. They get it. You don't have to be, that's not being mean. That is just the reality of the world that they're living in. And they know it. Everyone knows it. When you look so forward to like the only thing matters, man, we got to win in the playoffs. We got to win in the playoffs. We got to win in the playoffs. It's very easy to forget, like, you got to play week 10. You got to play week 9. Like, yeah. So I know McDermott is in there. I've been around him for a long time. He's in there every week. this is the most important game of the season. This is the most important game of the season. I can hear them saying it. This is not that they're overlooking it, but there is the human element amongst the players where it's like, yeah. But man, I hope we can beat Kansas City again in the playoffs. Yeah, I hope we can beat Lamar in the whoever it is. Like, that's real. Do I think their roster is as good as it's been in years past? I don't. Do I think their offensive skill players, do they have that one receiver on the outside that scares you to death to lock them up one-on-one because you're trying to stop James Cook? I don't think they do. So, like, it's a little bit of a different formula. It's ground and pound. It's under center. It's James Cook. It's 13 personnel. It's multiple tight ends. And Joe Brady's done a nice job building that scheme, but it's not the Bills style that we've seen in years past. And I think it just takes getting used to this new approach that they're trying to build a team that can win in the playoffs as opposed to build a team that can win a bunch of regular season games.
Tell us a little bit more about You Think. I just love the story. I know that you have the YouTube page as well where you can watch the show. I mean, this is something you're super passionate about with the kids, but I know I think it's been almost a year since we've even talked about it. So tell us a little bit more. Yeah,
well, thanks. It's a really cool project that has really grown into something larger than we've really ever could have imagined. You know, I started on You Think as just a singular podcast that I hosted a couple years ago, and would talk to anybody and everybody across the sports landscape: Olympians, professional athletes, sports psychologists, performance trainers, just everybody. I mean, this year we've had on Brady, Malcolm Gladwell, Ryan Day, James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, some really interesting people. And it's really an entertainment and to inform people about the ever-changing world, the crazy environment that is youth sports. And I'm a guy who grew up the son of a high school football coach, 2 school teachers. I grew up in locker rooms. And now I'm a father of 3 on a post 15-year playing career, and I don't have the answers. I don't know how to navigate my own kids. I'm coaching their kids in school and sports and whatnot. And it's been a really cool project for me, just personally, to like go out and have these conversations and educate myself and do a lot of self-evaluation of like, hey man, I'm falling short here as a dad. I'm falling short here as a youth coach, and where can I get better? And then the new aspect that we've just launched the last couple of weeks, with my founder, Ryen, and his background at Fanatics, is there's also an e-commerce element to this, where right through that same platform of youth.inc, sweatshirts of your kid's high school team, their travel basketball, their AAU, volleyball, whatever it is, you go buy a shirt on Fanatics and, you get the Dallas Cowboys, the Carolina Panthers, drop ship. Everyone's accustomed to that, but that's not the experience of purchasing fan wear and gear for your kids' teams, your kids' schools. And You Think wants to be that. We're building that platform. We're building that e-commerce kind of space on the internet that people can go and you can buy a shirt that says Charlotte Christian Football because your kid plays there, no different than you would a Carolina Panthers. And we're really excited about how the two kind of feed each other. There's the content, there's the commerce. They both serve in each direction, and we think it has a chance to be a big game changer because people are very passionate about youth sports. They're spending a lot of time and energy in the space. And we think that we can really improve that experience in both capacities.
Yeah, what I've always loved about it is that, like, look, you've crushed it playing, you've crushed it not playing, but this is important to you, and it'd be super easy to not spend the extra time on this. But whenever somebody's launching kind of a business where it's like, hey, this is more about trying to get this stuff right than it is maybe the motivation for other people that would be doing something like this. Enjoy LA this weekend. Enjoy this game. And I can't wait, man. So we'll talk soon.
You got it. Always good to join you, man. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Talk some NBA here, a good 10 minutes. We usually run this only on YouTube, but we're giving you a little taste here on the audio side of this. We'll start with Little Tales from the Couch, and we got a quote from last night that I think is worth questioning, and love for a rookie. All right, OKC Golden State. Golden State started 4-1, now they're 6-6. This was an ass-kicking in OKC last night. Team's 5-4 with Steph. We know Steph's missed a couple games. It was so bad that Steph was like completely out of rhythm, which you just don't see for extended periods of time. He played 20 minutes last night. You could say it was because of the foul trouble. That's part of it. But when he got his 5th foul, they just kept him in the game. They were like, whatever. But the second quarter got ugly. And then, it's just got uglier and uglier. And so it was a really rough night for the Golden State Warriors because of OKC's defense. So they were trapping them. Both bigs playing a lot. Hartenstein and Chet both really just mobile guys that can cover a lot of space. And they were selling out to trap him. Just a reminder that OKC did this last night without Jalen Williams, one. No Dort. Wiggins out of the game. Little Kenrich Williams acknowledgement. He wasn't playing. We got Brooks Barnheiser, Northwestern's finest, running around, all six of them, just getting into defensive stances all over the place, playing real minutes, because that's the best part about the Thunder is they're this absurd roster, and then you're like, wait, who's that guy? I mean, look, he's played in a bunch of games this year, but they'll have these moments. Carlson, you're just like, what's going on there? Usman Jang from outside, from three. So they don't even have the full slate, and they just work the Warriors last night. The two big stuff was a lot of fun, too, because they were running. Like, obviously, Golden State wanted to have Post play center because of his shooting, try to stretch one of the bigs away. But then it was like OKC wasn't going to give into that. And like, that's fine. We'll just use one of the two guys that we're going to keep in the game for when the game matters. So it kind of like counteracts the whole thing, because then you're still going to have a big roaming around if you decide you're just going to put Hartenstein on Post, who, again, is going to catch. He's not going to move a ton, but his whole thing is about spacing to open up everything else for the other four guys. And in this case, if you're going to play two bigs that are really mobile that can chase people around on defense, it's just not going to work. The other thing that was cool with OKC is they could run a lot of the offense, as we know with Hartenstein. You don't even need him at the elbow. He's extended from the elbow, and it felt like they were playing SGA just off the ball more. I don't know if there's like a usage number necessarily from last night, because like this is the scary part. As I was like sitting there, taking notes. I'm like, it almost feels like they're just trying other things in a regular season game against Golden State to be like, what if we ran our offense for like long stretches this way, where it feels like SGA is coming off the ball, we're curling everything into the middle, and if they want to trap all of the stuff off this entry pass into the middle with a guy with some momentum on the dribble, then we'll just have the guys move off the corners and like move up a little bit, and then we're going to have wide open shots on both sides. Like, we're not even stuck in the corner. We're just moving those guys up a little bit. So it was really impressive. Golden State, look, they're good. I don't know that people really thought that they were going to win a title. I'm not going to freak out about the game on a Tuesday night. It's kind of what it probably should be. OKC's just, look, I think they're better than everybody else, even though I picked Denver to win the whole thing. Butler, Jimmy Buckets, 1 of 2 at the half. 2 shots while Steph was struggling. I have this thing that I might be wrong about with Jimmy Butler, but I feel like the best part of him, like when Golden State's clicking, it's like all these guys are connectors. They're patient. They make the right decision. They take the right shots. Kuminga take a few. You're like, what was that? But, let him eat. But the Butler numbers, like he's 11 attempts a game this year, same as last year. 3-point shooting is up. Last year with Golden State, he was 28%. This year, he's 39%. But he was so hot. I mean, he was 56% in October in those 6 games. So he's actually struggled. I don't think he's made a 3 yet in November. But there's always like a moment with Butler where I'm like, hey, it may be on you to initiate a little bit more offense here. Even though when he's right, it's like it's his patience and it's the passing, and I'm not going to force anything. And he lives at the free throw line. So a lot of the advanced stuff is really good. And also the free throw attempts kind of leak into the lack of field goal attempts, because these are actual shot attempts that he would be making, but they don't count because he's fouled and he's going to the free throw line. But, Draymond doesn't, and this has been going on for a while, but like Draymond passes on, I think, it's not a ton of offensive opportunities, but there's a few times where I'm like, you could have just gone up with that. And there's usually a couple of those a game where I feel like, the great thing about Draymond is he's this ultimate playmaker. So you're asking him like his instincts, hey, change your instincts every now and then. So that might not be entirely fair. And even the Butler thing can feel frustrating at times, because I'll be on it and be like, you probably could have gone to the hoop on that one. You probably could have pulled up from there. Like, you're probably still a better shot. But when they're clicking on offense and everybody's moving the ball and they're not forcing anything, like that's kind of the beauty of Golden State. So they didn't have any of that last night. They're 21st on offense so far this season. After the All-Star game last year, when they went 20-7 in 27 games, they were number 7 on offense. OKC's number 1 on D. Not a shock there. It doesn't seem to matter who's available that night or not. They're just going to be awesome on defense. I mean, Jalen Williams is one of the best two-way players going right now already, and they haven't had him all season. Doesn't seem to matter. They're number 1 on defense, 104 is the defensive rating. That's 2.6 points better than they were even last year. There's some ridiculous numbers in the beginning of the year here. I mean, look, we're like 10 games into this whole thing, so some of these numbers may not be sustainable, but just an incredible defensive start for them. All right, speaking of numbers, I want to talk a little Jokic here, but at first I want to throw to little Doug Christie, who addressed the media last night before the game, and he was inspired.
We're going to work every damn day to get it right. So when I see the hate, the haters, the fakers, all you guys, you keep that energy. That's good. You keep that. And you know who you are. Because while you doing that, we're going to be working. And while you doing that, we're going to be growing. And while you do that, eventually, we're going to be coming. The King Show. Sack proud. Know that.
Here's what I would say if I advised Doug Christie. I go, hey, can you not do this when we're 3-7 and about to play the Nuggets? You know, I don't think Dan Campbell called plays because it was Washington, because we've already covered it, that like it sounds like he was more involved in play calling. But I don't think Dan Campbell would have given the speech against the Nuggets. Maybe he would have. I don't know. You know, I like Precious Achiuwa. I still hold out a little hope. Rotational guy, multi-faceted. I don't even know if that's a real thing. But if he's your starting power forward on that night against the Nuggets, maybe save that speech for a Wizards game. But no, I didn't like that. He felt like he was like, well, you know, what the fuck do you want the media to do, man? Be nicer about this team? And maybe he was just really, really upset about some of the preseason stuff where not a lot of Kings momentum. Speaking of Jokic, traditional stat line, 26, 13, 11. 67% from the floor. He's at 36% from threes. In November, he's 32, 12, and 12. He was 5 of 21 on threes in October. So to get that number back up to 36% means he's on fire. The advanced stuff is make believe. Like, I'm going to give you the numbers. There's no, even for him, just isn't sustainable. He has a 37 PER. His win share per 48 is 4.34. Now, what does that mean? Like, anytime it's 300 is all-time stuff. Like, if you have one of those seasons in a stellar career, like anything over 300 is like, ridiculous, all-timer kind of stuff. He's like 100 points higher on that than the all-time record. His box score plus minus is 19. And again, I don't think any of this stuff is sustainable because it isn't. These are ridiculous numbers for him. He is back to his 15 shots a game, which he would rather be at because they have a bench and they have more balance. Last year, he was taking almost 20 shots a game. He had to force the issue a little bit. I can't believe how great he was last year because it felt like in the beginning of the year, I was like, this guy, like he's in all of these big moments where it feels like he has to solve it all. But he's back to shooting less, which is exactly where he wants to be. All right, final thought here, and then we'll get to some questions from the mailbag, NBA mailbag, rr@gmail.com. Kon Kneuppel, 10 games in. He's perfect. That may be excessive. Perfect, buddy. Look, his family. So I guess his mom was the all-time leading scorer at her college. The dad was the all-time leading scorer at his college up until like a few years ago. I've got a couple uncles, one that played overseas. His dad and two of the uncles played in was it the Gus Macker 3-on-3 thing? I don't know. I was reading this on Wikipedia, so it might not even be true. Like smart list, like how many kids do you have? You're like, Gus Macker, this 3-on-3 tournament, the Flying Knipples. Watching Kon Kneuppel play basketball and him understanding the game like this already. Yeah, sure. It's 17, 6, and 3, 45 and 40 shooting splits. I don't even care about that. I watched that full Lakers game the other night, and it's just the way he sees the game. And we saw some of this at Duke, even though there were so many guys with the ball in his hand that, like we had Shire on, it was like, yeah, there's probably more that he could have done, but the team was stacked. So you have the number one pick and other point guards and, just this array of talent with the Blue Devils, like Kneuppel didn't even get to show off everything that he could do, but there were signs that it's like this guy is impacting the game without the ball in his hands. And now he's a rookie on not a great team, and he doesn't force anything. I mean, just really simple things. Rebound, wants to get the ball to court. He got it on the left side, had an open three, liked the short corner three better for his teammate. I think it was Terrence Mann, swung it to him. Excuse me, Trae Mann. Swung it to him, hits the open three. Had another play where he was like beyond the 3-point line on the right side, kind of near the break, gets the ball, probably could have put it on the floor, decided to like, hey, I'm cooking here a little bit. Let me see what I got. He saw a trail teammate coming down, and he was like, you know what? Let me get this guy a look. He threw it back to him, sets like a little brush screen. So he's giving the ball handler now a couple different options, even though he had a shot. He had another play where he went coast to coast, and he could see the play developing in front of him where normally he would want to get the ball up quicker. But he was like, defense is kind of slacking here a little bit. I think I'm going to have a seal like right at the restricted area. If my teammate like stays on that side of the defender, then I'm going to have a wide open layup. This guy is like, I want to go to the Kneuppel family camp if they start one. If they have a basketball camp, it's a little late for me, but I want to go. I may actually want to relearn, like being in a coma and then getting out of it. And they're like, yeah, you're like, what did I do? I talked about fucking hoops and football every day and just sat at home and watched games. Like, I don't have any kids. Who am I? That doesn't seem. Oh, I live on the beach. All right. Well, maybe I can work with that. What about basketball? And they'd be like, oh, great. We're going to send you to the Kneuppel family camp. You're going to relearn the game. You don't even have to unlearn what you've already learned because you've been in a coma. Now you're going to relearn it, and you're going to play just like this kid. He was built in a basketball lab. Sign up for it. Okay, we have a few questions from the mailbag. We're going to bring in Cerruti.
Yo.
That didn't get you fired up. It seemed like your tempo seems a little stunted right now.
No. Listen, I love Kneuppel. Just a different setup here, so figuring out what buttons I got to press. But no, it's my guy.
That's fair. All right.
Yeah, we got a couple questions here. What do we RR? Hold on, I got it. NBA mailbag rr@gmail.com. So
yeah, get him in.
Although you didn't send me the first one, it was the question. It was the VJ Edgecombe Bulls question.
Yeah, I like this one. Do you
what?
have it?
Is it?
Right.
Well, let me take a stab because we were talking about it last night. It was, would you trade the Bulls, like basically anyone on the Bulls, for VJ Edgecombe?
Yeah. It probably comes down to Giddey. Giddey's probably the only thing that you're looking at here saying, okay, well, who is he? He just turned 23. His second half of last year, it looks a lot like the first 10 games. It's even better. I mean, the shooting is somehow fixed. It's carried over now. I mean, with Chicago, he shot at 38% for 70 games. Now he's at 38%. So there's a score. Like, the problem for Giddey was always on the ball. He's actually really, really talented. Can he shoot? Well, now it looks like he can shoot. And if he's off the ball with OKC, it just didn't make any sense because nobody was guarding him. They couldn't play him in those playoff series 2 years ago. Like, you could see his minutes declining because it's like, this is just clogging up everything because, Giddey off the ball is like, there's not a huge point of having Giddey on the ball. So now it's a VJ Edgecombe question about Giddey. Is there anyone else on the Bulls? Patrick Williams, maybe? He fell down like 3 times in that Spurs game late, and I was like, I just felt bad for him. How about that Wemby fourth quarter? Yeah, I think I would do it. I think I would trade any. Yeah, because I mean, it's really about Giddey, and I think VJ is just ridiculous. VJ's bounce, like, plenty of guys can jump and jump high and are super athletic and all that kind of stuff. He has this bounce where he's getting off the ground quicker than you're supposed to be. So I don't know. It sounds crazy when it's the entire Bulls thing. We're not saying everyone on the Bulls, but yeah, I would trade any player on the Bulls for VJ. I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, the only guy is, respect to my guy Vooch, who is playing better, by the way.
Yeah, making that trade now is like,
his game is perfect for mid to upper 30s. But the VJ Edgecombe thing is kind of funny too, because like when Ace Bailey started popping a little bit in summer league, and then the Jazz shut him down. I feel like everybody was like, "Oh man, like Ace is the guy," and then they kind of forgot that VJ went 3, and there was like a little bit of lost excitement there. So it's kind of cool to see him bounce back and how incredibly special he was. Because like, I mean, I'm not sitting here locked into Baylor games, but like the guy's athleticism when you watch YouTube highlights is just like unlike most things you've ever seen. The Giddey thing is tough because I guess I planted my flag in being anti-Giddey early, and now I have to admit that I'm wrong. So maybe there's some part of me in there that's like, oh yeah, I would take VJ because I still don't believe in Giddey. But Giddey's been awesome. I mean, there's no debating that. But I think the upside of what VJ can be, like, what do you think Giddey is capable of being at his peak? Like, is it a guy that could win the Eastern Conference as the best player on the team? I don't think that's a possibility. And where VJ, anything is still kind of possible at this point because he's so young. So I think that's probably my answer.
Yeah, that's the answer. I mean, Giddey's really nice, but I mean, that's an absurd statement to be like, can Giddey be the best player on a team that wins the East? Like, I mean, this is a nice little comeback, buddy. But I mean, this is you're also, yeah, you're banking on the unknown thing. I mean, Giddey's still young enough that it's not the 3 years thing. And sure, VJ could probably shoot it a little bit better, but he shot it from outside better than I think people were questioning before the draft. So, all right, next question.
Rank these 4 guys. This is like the island of misfit toys on the Russillo podcast. I guess it's just as far as who you'd want going forward. I don't know about like assets or what you'd have to give up, but just these guys as far as like, hey, I can have this guy on my team. Who do I want? Ja, Zion, Trae, and LaMelo.
I think I'd just become a writer. Like, that's a tough one. I mean, the Trae being hurt thing, especially with them having New Orleans pick, and say that ends up being like a top pick and the contract extension decision that Atlanta has to make. But I mean, there's 4 similarities there. It's that you have franchises, Atlanta's been certainly better than the hurt Pelicans, even though the healthy Pelicans had a nice little run there where you were like, okay. Memphis, yes, I understand the 2 seed from a couple years ago. Charlotte is 4th, but all of them have an attraction. So it's like, if we're not good, are we at least interesting, and do we have the attraction? And we're talking about 4 attraction players for the fan bases. Like, I'm sure tons of young Hornets fans still love LaMelo. Same thing with Trae. Memphis fans, I know, have Ja's back, like no matter what. And there's some commonalities there with Zion as well. But I'd rather have Trae than any of them. I don't even think that's really a debate. I mean, Ja health, at least. I mean, I know Trae's hurt now, but like at least he plays and he can shoot. And LaMelo's early shooting was impressive, if not a little surprising. That's tailed off. Part of it's probably shot selection too. But like Ja injury stuff is a mess. Zion's a nightmare. From a health standpoint, I'd go Trae, probably Ja, probably LaMelo. I think I'd have Zion last because I just am never going to trust it, even if I like the healthy version of him far better than any of the 4 players.
Trae, I watched him too.
Yeah, but at
many
least
times
he's
play the Magic, and I just don't like. I don't like the foul stuff. I hate it, and I've been on record being like, I don't want. Even if the team was better, I don't think I'd want him as my.
Yeah, but if you're getting the free throws, just like all the Hawks fans, like you won't hate it as much.
I don't know. But you're right. Like, he's the guy. He's the one guy. I mean, I certainly think I would take him over LaMelo, and the other 2 guys are total question marks for off the court stuff. So I think you're probably right there.
That's going to shut. I'm too depressed after that question to answer any more questions. We'll do it again next week. NBA good 10 minutes. Before we get to life advice and something else we need to talk about here, we've got King of the Court, another big winner.
2 for 2.
We're moving the ball here a little bit. What do we got, Rudy?
Yeah, so every Tuesday we're giving you King of the Court picks, which, if you don't know, is basically your guy has to lead in points, assists, and rebounds. And last night, our guy Kyle took Jokic. Some say it's chalk, but he did win. So Kyle's got a win under his belt after you won with Giddey last week. So we are 2 for 2 on our King of the.
Who's saying it's chalk, by the way? DraftKings is saying it's chalk. Who's saying it's chalk?
I mean, I think
say that.
Right. Was he the most bet guy? Maybe
the haters, which there aren't any.
Hey, if you at DraftKings want to send me credits to where I'm like playing along, Otherwise, it's just win and loss column for me. If there's some credits to be had, then I'll grab a John Collins or someone like that. Whoever was like that guy who was in the leaderboard for a minute yesterday. But if it's win loss column, that's what I'm about.
All right. Well, we'll get
That's what you've always been about.
Just like the Eagles.
True.
All right. But now we need a pick for tonight for the Alliance, correct?
Alliance. Yep. Who wants to
I don't
start?
know.
I was the
Kyle
only
go
one
first?
that hit last week. So
Yeah. This is a
Oh.
little Big East play for you. I've got Ryan Kalkbrenner. I had to leaf through a couple of things here. I settled on Ryan Kalkbrenner, 6 or more blocks or rebounds. Can you imagine 6 or more rebounds?
Whoa.
Just thinking about those Kalk blocks from back last year at Creighton. That's all right. That's what people called it.
You can say it now that he's in the pros.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, minus 175 for my leg here. 6 or more rebounds. He's averaging about 7. So I think I'm all right with that.
okay. I'll go next. I'm gonna take. I almost wanted to drop a question about the Magic in our 10 good minutes segment, but I didn't. But I'm going to talk about the Magic here. I'm taking Paolo over 23.5 points tonight. He's playing at the Garden. He loves to
I
play
was
at the
thinking
Garden.
about that.
It's also his birthday, 23rd birthday.
Happy
over
birthday,
23.5
Paolo.
points. Yeah. I was going to ask you if he gets unfairly criticized, but maybe we'll table that for another day.
Why don't we
I feel
just
like
do that again? Because he's going to be unfairly criticized again later on. He will be. So
He just
don't
is.
worry.
It's always efficiency, this and that. Well, he's been more efficient this season. He's taking more efficient shots. He had a couple bad games. Yes, he didn't have a great game last time around, but he had the key steal that led to the 3, the Desmond Bane 3. So lay off my guy. Happy birthday, Paolo. Over 23.5 points.
I too am on the Orlando thing tonight. We did not talk about this ahead of time, but at some point, like, Bane has to make shots. I was watching him where they had all their guys out, and I was like, there's no way this team is going to be bad. There's just no way this team is going to be bad. So I'm going to go Orlando plus 4.5. Knicks coming off a back-to-back, although you could say last night wasn't super hard against the Grizz. So such a coward, though. Great story. Love watching him play. So, yeah, there we go. So plug it in for us, Rudy. What do we got?
Yeah, that's plus 380. Let's go.
Plus 380. All right.
Man.
Check it all out on DraftKings. Get involved.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life Advice. The email address is lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. All right. Before we get into the emails here, point of order. We planned on pitching T-shirts today.
Oh, that's right. I got my list.
You do have a list? All right, good.
I do, yeah.
Both- All right, but here's the problem. I don't have a list. You guys
Oh, I
got
didn't-
lists.
Well, you're making
didn't think you
decisions without us anyway. I thought this was us to get in the room.
I
thought
agree.
This
I
was
didn't-
Steve and I trying to get in the room because you're obviously just going to do what you're going to do, right?
Probably. I probably was just going to do what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good read out of you. All right, so you guys want to sit down apprentice style?
You want to go
And
pitch for pitch? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, let's go every other. Kyle, you go first.
All right. Well, this one maybe shouldn't count because everybody knew it was going to be Chargers to the game. I looked it up. There's a Charger to the game card game. I think we can do this. I was looking up the patents, and I don't think it has anything for shirts. And it's Charge It 2, the number 2. So I think if we change it up a little bit, this could be a big seller, and this is legal, I think.
Just so you're aware, any of these ideas that are remotely good, there will be one listener that's that guy that will then immediately try to get in front of this. I always imagine like Darren Ravel would hear a good T-shirt saying and then go, "Oh, somebody else came up with that. I'm gonna
just boilerplate this as a patent."
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that was my first one, but the big news was that I couldn't find a current patent for T-shirts with that spelling. So I think it'd be okay. That was the
somebody's
big news.
already doing it now. I mean,
All right.
not that because it's a million idea, but there's just going to be somebody that's going to mess with us. So, all right, that's one. I mean, look, I'm up for a legal fight if you are, Kyle. Salt of the earth. So,
Yeah, there's some dudes
got
on the
a lot-
Barstool team I'd maybe start an email chain with, just see what we could do. Go ahead. Steve.
Yeah. I've got a lot of random things. Some of these could be terrible ideas, but like the hey, I did this and all I got was this T-shirt. I was thinking about I listened to Russillo and all I got was one Coors Light.
Damn it.
On a
I had a
t-shirt.
Coors Light. Mine was just one period Coors period Light. That was it. That's all it says. So
That's money.
well, that's
that's
a
really
one.
good. I
That's a
really
good
like. I like both of those. I mean, to Kyle's point, like I love Cerruti's, but Kyle, maybe just a picture of a Coors Light on a plain white tee.
Little Life Advice logo on the back. Yeah.
No, see, I don't want any of the extra stuff. I
No,
think you just
simple.
let the Coors Light can hang there as
Okay.
the art and representation of friendship.
No.
Limited friendship that it represents.
Yeah. Okay, here's one. This is a little bit of a deep cut and a little bit like one of those like fridge magnets. This just says, I left my cashmere number in Denver.
Wait, what about I just said this is cashmere shirt?
Or it's called a lifter stomach. It's called a lifter stomach. Like off of that. I was thinking one of those two.
The cashmere number was Salt Lake, though.
Oh, with Salt Lake? All right, we
Yes.
could change that out. Yeah, we could swap that out. Okay, there you go. Go ahead, Steve.
That is a good one. I like that a lot. I had, what about life advice, liquid
What about
since
that one?
2019?
Damn it. I kind of had something like that too. I won't use that. That's good.
I want to do like I am liquid on a t-shirt, but I was like, what could I do with liquid? So I have just had I am liquid or life advice liquid since 2019.
Yeah. Mine was like liquid, and on the back it said life advice. Just like, a little bit like, ooh, what does the back of the shirt say?
Who's wearing that one?
I don't know,
I think
man.
people, I don't know.
It says liquid on the front. You guys
Yeah.
are big on Kyle, you like shirts that also have another story to tell.
Yes. Well, and also the back would be like a little way less, like we're super toned down. You might even have to squint. Maybe the life advice is just like on the top back, sort of where like the neck pops out of the t-shirt.
What
Just
about
a
like on
little
the
thing.
shoulder? Remember they used to do
I like a
those?
shoulder patch. I love a shoulder patch. Maybe we can
Yeah.
get it going diagonal.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
There
this
is a
another
picture
fun one.
of me, by the way, at a dive bar with one Coors Light in my hand. That's an incredible picture because you can just
You probably
see
have the
that
rights to that.
I'm off in the back and you can just see that I'm totally over it. And I'm just holding the Coors Light. And
Early 2000s or late? Like
no,
recent?
it's not. I don't know. It might be like 7 years ago.
No, okay.
I was thinking, speaking of like photos of you though, this isn't really merch. I don't even know what you'd call this. What if we had like fat heads or cutouts of you in that famous RSLO picture that everybody seems to love against the brick wall? So
You can only print a
have
couple of
Russillo in the
those if you want to if you want to make money on that. That is a niche dude who wants to make a joke right there. Here's a good one.
Yeah, it might be production costs would be too high because it's going to be a
limited edition.
You need to
Yeah,
buy some.
yeah.
You need to manufacture so many of those just to get there. Shark Tank would be like, this is all wrong. Here's one in that sort of joke shirt.
Well, let's not
You
move
know how-
off this so quickly, though.
Okay. In that joke shirt, where it's like I'm with stupid.
Yeah.
This one it's on the back.
I'm with Cupid.
And no, it says I'm saving this seat for Russillo, and you'd wear it at a bar. Kind of
That's
clever.
good.
You'd have to know
like
what's
that.
going on there, or I'm saving this stool for Russillo. You get the little bar stool angle. That's pretty cool. Could even
That's
do the
pretty good.
logo, right?
That is
saving
good.
this for Russillo. The joke is he's not coming, but if we listen, we know that it's all right.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
And, maybe a crown jewel one. I don't know. Probably make a limited number of those, but maybe
A lot of these
for,
are about me so far, so I don't know. I mean, I thought Kyle was going to have
Well,
some like.
You're.
I've
on
got
the
a couple
show.
Kyle ones if we want. I'll
I'd love to hear these.
I've got two Kyle ones. One, could we use like the logo of the Harley Davidson thing and put some sort of Kyle slant on it? Maybe
Right,
maybe
I
it's
see what you're
the
saying.
Harley logo, but it says "Charge It to the Game" in there instead of like Harley Davidson or something.
Right. So it's kind of
Okay.
like copyright infringement, but not
Yeah,
totally.
We're just different enough where we don't get in trouble. I think that'd be a good one. The other one I had was how
Like I
funny
could
it'd
feel
be-
good about Hood fish T-shirts from the early '90s.
Sure. The other one I had was what if we had Len Dawson, like the famous picture of him smoking a cigarette on the sideline, and it was just Kyle's face on Len Dawson.
I love that.
Yeah,
Put me down for 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are good.
Those are my
You
Kyle
guys did
ones.
some good work.
Yeah. I had
got
one
one more.
My Barstool's at Frolic, but I'm out of Frolic, so I don't know. I don't even think anyone cares. But that's a good one.
I had one that said 76ers basketball gives me a bona. But I don't know. It might give that to the part of my take guys.
Yeah.
Last one, at least for me. What about the gold gym? I did like, what are famous T-shirts that we can like slightly change to make it look like
You're like
our thing?
Supreme, dude. But
There's a huge market for that. Yeah, there's a huge market
Yeah.
for that.
What like the Gold's Gym logo, but it just has like, the Ron Russillo show, and instead of the Gold's Gym guy deadlifting, maybe it's you deadlifting, or it's just you sitting at your desk.
Basically, already is
doing a
Ryan
podcast.
deadlifting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm
No,
not
no
doing
one like
straight
that.
bar deadlifts a ton. lately. Doing a lot of goblet squats, a lot of Romanian deadlifts. So I just wouldn't want to be inaccurate on a fitness t-shirt. And, if there's kids out there, what kind of message is that sending?
That's true. Yeah. For the kids.
Really good ideas, though. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to work with. My brain's just, I'm just buzzing.
I'll let you guys know. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Off of this, we do have some feedback. You can hit us up FridayFeedbackR@gmail.com. Probably too many emails right now.
A lot of emails to keep track of.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if there's. Can we sign up for Woof? Can we still get Woof?
Oh yeah,
a promo code for that. Yeah. Was hoping that the move to Barstool would mean Russillo merch. It's always been a bummer that I can't show this stuff off. Okay, that was not the merch one. There was a different merch one that I thought was.
We can mark that one as solved. So that's it.
Yeah, done and done. I'll find it here. I just have to search through. Why are we on emojis right now? This is not just a disaster keyboard experience right now. Did the keyboard go dead? Is that what just happened? No.
Feels problematic.
Yeah, keep this in. Punishment. You know how it works. Yeah. Don't edit this out.
You're a real fan if you like this anyway. You'll enjoy this.
Yeah. Congratulations on the move to Barstool. Hope be happy to have you guys back. Any chance you're going to be doing a hoodie in a zip-up option? I love zip-up hoodies. They're my go-to. Hate pullover ones. Would definitely buy a zip-up. Looking forward to checking out what other merchandise you have in mind. Please use good quality and good fitting tees that don't get fucked after a first wash for your merchandise. Okay, man. On it. We'll do our best.
Somebody's like messing up their hair when they put on a hoodie, huh?
Yeah.
I don't like zip-up hoodies. I don't know if that's a me thing. They're like not as comfortable as I'm wearing a hoodie right now. I'd rather have a pullover. They're
going to be pullovers because they're going to be Hawthorns for Legends, at least in the first run. The first batch, they're going to be pullovers. So that guy's going to be super pissed. But
all right, next round. Cool.
Yeah. More feedback. Best athlete, one simple test. Here's the test in the athlete conversation. How surprised are you that a white guy is good at it?
Damn. Shit. So that would be basketball. Did he just solve it? So that is basketball because there's plenty of niches of football where you're like, that's a white guy position.
Yeah, but hockey, which hockey people felt very dissed in that conversation, which I understand.
Not a ton of jumping hockey, though, or even running,
geographically, really. And like hockey's like in a different category. I don't know that. I mean, it's probably an incredibly white sport based on geography as much as anything else.
I don't like it because my DNs argument, there's a lot of good white DNs and I still think DNs are insane. So, and I was thinking about it after we talked about this, Ryan, because like you brought up the MMA thing with the fighting stuff, but a lot of the stuff that you brought up was like mental stuff and should like the mental part of athleticism count. Like if you do an endurance race, does that make you a better athlete because you're both mentally and physically insane?
Yeah.
Man, this stopped being fun a while ago.
Yeah, it's not even fun anymore.
It stopped being fun.
But speaking of white guys, we had 6 on the court, not including refs. Charlotte Lakers, 6 white guys. I was like, can we get to 7? Because there's a possibility to get to 7. You can get to 7.
Could run a full pickup.
I don't know if the Lakers have run Luka, Austin, Connect, and LaRavia together. And on the other side, you got Kon Kneuppel, you got Kalkbrenner, you had Connaughton. Shit, I'm forgetting one of the other white guys that they had. But there was a chance to get to 7. I think maybe even 8. There's another white guy in Charlotte that I'm not remembering right now. I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah, Liam McNeely, the rookie from UConn.
UConn.
So you could have had 8 white guys. If that happens...
Garbage time.
I don't know. Does Van Lathan even tape that week? We don't know. All right. Those have been bangers. Those emails.
My internet just go out.
Let's see here. This email's not true, so we're not going to do that. All right. Straightforward. Guy wants to take a lady out on a date. Basketball comp. Marshall Plumlee in the NBA, i.e. not so good. Hey, Kyle, Steve, and Ryan.
Oh my God.
I went to a party a couple months back with a platonic female friend. Call her Rachel. I met a girl at the party.
God.
Call her Jane, who I didn't talk with that much, but she had very memorable looks. That's a good description. Fast forward to last week, and I'm at another party with this girl, Rachel, and I see Jane. I talk to Jane. It turns out she's pretty damn cool, very interesting, awesome career, still great looking, etc. Vibes are good in the conversation. There's some clear flirting going on, and eventually she finds an excuse to give me her roommate's numbers to see each other again. Roommate's numbers. Did we just lose Kyle, by the way?
We did. He's out.
Well, I don't know how we can keep. Let's just give it a 30-second. Leave it in. Leave it in.
Wow.
How are you,
What's
Sturdy?
up?
What's up? What's
I'm
new
all
with
right.
you?
Nothing really. Started that the Black Rabbit show. Have you heard of that show?
I haven't.
Jude Law.
Kyle lost his power.
Oh. All right. It's not good.
Yeah, I'm texting right now, trying to get to the bottom of it. So he's kind of Black Rabbit. Is that Bateman?
Bateman, Jude Law. Yeah, kind of wasn't into it. Now I'm into it midway through. It's not bad.
What about Pluribus?
I'll start that after I finish Black Rabbit. Yeah.
Can't do two at the same time, huh?
No, not shows. No.
Not
I was thinking
shows.
about watching Frankenstein last night, but it's long.
Oh, yeah? How long?
It's like 2.5 hours long, isn't it? It's a Del Toro film.
Yeah, but I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. You know?
I would agree.
Benicio? I signed up for 3
Although
hours
would
for that guy.
you have said the same about Scorsese and The Irishman?
Yeah, I watched it. I mean, it's Scorsese. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. You got to give it that chance. But Irishman's too long. It's too long. Adnan Burke's wrong. He's never been more wrong about anything. I mean, you want to talk about just being
he's
too
defending
close.
Adnan defending Scorsese.
Yeah.
Shocker.
I mean, we get all sorts of fan bases going, no, you guys are wrong about this player, you're wrong about this player. And then like 4 years later, you're like, anything? Any note? Written note? Handwritten note?
Mm-hmm.
Scorsese is to Adnan Burke is maybe Trae Young is to Atlanta.
Troy Young?
What?
I think you said
Did
Troy
I
Young.
say Troy?
I
Yeah,
heard
I
Troy.
think so. Yeah.
You heard Troy?
Right.
Yeah, the eyes have it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
House
I said
back.
Troy.
Fucking
You missed
sticks,
it.
man. The power's
You missed it.
going
Scorsese's
out.
probably done a little bit more than Trae Young, but recently, who knows? Okay. There's clear flirting going on. Eventually, she finds an excuse to give me and her roommate's numbers to see each other again. That has to be read again with that minor intermission. That doesn't make a ton of sense. When I leave the party that night, I tell Jane I'll text her. I wake up in the morning, realize I should have asked Jane on a date. I asked a mutual friend, Rachel, what she thinks. She says I definitely have a chance with this girl, but need to take it slow. Her advice is to see Jane in group settings once or twice more before asking her out in order to build up more interest. I follow Rachel's advice. And on Friday, I text Jane and her roommates at a group chat to see if they're doing anything that night. Jane's roommate immediately responds saying she's at work and will get back to me, but radio silence from Jane. I reacted to the roommate's message, but sent nothing else. I'm kind of kicking myself for not just texting Jane individually from the get-go and asking her on a date. Add in the awkwardness of the group chat, and she didn't respond. That she did not respond to. Oh, man.
It's tough
That's
to come
not
back
good.
from that.
Yeah. And now I doubt texting her for a date individually will work out well for me. My goal is to take Jane on a date and to see what happens from there. What's the best way to handle this that ends up with me and her on a date? That sentence structure has me worried. I'm just going to say. Try to see her in person again, texting her individually, hitting up the dead group chat again. No, right? Are we all on the same page? The group chat is dead.
Never hit
Erase
it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What could have happened here? One is Jane could have been interested. She also could have not been interested. You getting all of the roommates' numbers the same night, normally that'd be like, hey, I got all these numbers. Yeah, but do they all live together and they offered them collectively? That's a different transaction. Wasn't in the game when that was happening. So I would say, like, I remember there was like a house phone situation once, back when there was like pre-cell phones. Also 6563131 was in the mix quite a bit. For those that know. But there was like a house phone thing and you're like, who's going to answer? Who's going to answer? Dudes my age understand what we're talking about. But that's not what we're dealing with. We're talking new technology. Starlink, So do you guys think that he was given the entire palette of phone numbers here from the room as the kind of like pre-friend zoning?
Yeah, it's
What
like, hey,
happened here?
you know, we'll hit you up if we ever need help moving one day. Like this is, I feel it does, the group
Do you have
phone
a pickup truck?
Yeah, like it's just, that to me is, I think you're dead here. I don't know. I mean, I feel like you could certainly pursue Jane, but
Jesus.
if she didn't respond in the actual chat, then what she has, if she had any interest in you, she would have said something, right? Like she wouldn't just leave you hanging.
Likely.
So you can still
Now,
pursue it. Just be prepared to be turned down.
What if Jane is, you know, as you learn about other people, as you go through this process, you're like, that seems a little crazy. What if Jane did have interest in him, but then the roommate, she was expecting an individual text, and I don't even know why everybody was just firing their phone numbers into a thread with you there, but maybe she initially did have interest, and then she's got this fucked up roommate who's like claiming you, and our guy emailing us right now is a total smoke show. I don't know. Or maybe they all went back and just over a pillow fight and ice cream, they argued over who liked you the most, and the girl that texted you back the most. And that's why Jane's laying out, because she's got all this roommate conflict. So look, here's the thing. What do we tell you in these? You could worry about all of this stuff and not go on a date, or you can ask her out. She says no, and then you also not go on the date. But at least you have some sort of closure here. So I do think that you need to individually hit up Jane and say, hey, look, it's a little awkward. I kind of just wanted your number. And if she's into you, she's going to see that as a total compliment, right? So I really think an aggressive, like, departure from the thread, you know, Star Wars, escape hatch, Tatooine. You know what I'm saying? Just go, hey, this is what I need to do. I'm getting away from the rest of this. I'm going over here. And then let her know. Like, hey, you know, I kind of just wanted to spend a little bit more time with you. I didn't want to be rude, so I just hit up the entire thread and, you know, see what develops. Kyle, nothing to add?
Well, full transparency, I just dropped out because out in the sticks here we have something called a power flicker, which I'm told is going to happen a lot these days. So I might have to fucking move my whole setup again next time. Anyway, you guys just kept reading the email, so I've been flying blind. So I'm not going to give any advice without the full scope here. So it sounds like you guys have reasonable stuff that you said.
All right. We got a guy who ghosted, I think, here. What's up, fellas? Player comp Luke Kennard, age is 23. Always have a solid jumper. Can give you some crafty side steps or touch around the basket as well. I can bench press 225 times, 6 times. I can run a 7-minute mile, which I know isn't impressive.
The stats are good. The bios are getting great.
Yeah. Again, there's a difference between should you come to the office and brag about a 7-minute mile? No. You should feel right. You should feel really good about running a 7-minute mile. Bragging about it at the office. One of the first 3 facts that you would tell Jane on a date. We don't want to make the other guy jealous, so I shouldn't do that. Because this guy sounds fucking jacked. 23. All right. 3 months ago, I decided to go on the dating apps again after a few months of working remote and not really putting myself out there as much. I like that mental reset, isolation. Maybe that could be a t-shirt. I'm in a mental reset. And on the back, It says isolation for Kyle, you know?
Thanks.
One of the first girls I matched, what I matched with was cute enough. And just, there's no comma there, but I guess you don't need
You're doing him a favor.
Yeah. First girl I matched with was cute enough and decided to take her on a date. It's just us here.
Lucky her.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's great.
That'll do. But you know what? At least this guy was honest about it. At least
Yeah.
90% of people are just doing it. Like, this will work. We went for a nice walk along the ocean. I got some drinks, had a decent night together. It was fine, but didn't really see it being anything too serious, but it was only one date. After that, I was saying we should do something again. And this got close to the next date, Thursday, texting all week. I was not looking forward to this date, but was like, whatever, can't be a dick. We pre-gamed. This guy's writing literally as he's talking. We pre-gamed our dinner at a nearby bar, then took her to a nice hibachi place. At the hibachi place, I look over at her eating and her steak fried rice and see she's missing. Oh man, missing maybe 1.5 fingers.
Oh. Got a JPP situation going on here.
I didn't even know. I was so caught off guard that he says he doesn't have an official count because he was so thrown off. I looked for another second just to try and see what was going on, and she sort of caught me looking, and I looked away, but she definitely saw me looking. At this point, I was pretty rattled. I'm fucking rattled, and I wasn't even at the hibachi place. How do I spend 5 hours with someone and not notice that? Not that it was even that bad or a deal breaker. We then finished the date. For the first time ever, I ghosted someone. I didn't even know what to say.
Jesus, that sucks.
I was going to end it regardless, but I texted her after saying it was fun, and then she agreed, and then we've never texted since.
Oh, okay.
Now she's going to think because of her fingers, so I kind of did nothing, and it's been 3 months. The writing style is like unbelievable. I actually think it's...
Is he like, talk to Chat GPT, like write this email for me?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's always a chance something could be fake, but the way this is written is it's like a stream of consciousness from like a 23-year-old guy who was like would be telling this to his roommate but wrote it down. So maybe it is a little prompty. I don't know, but this would be kind of like, forget the ghosting. Anybody that would do this over something like this, like you're even worse. So again, that person might not care. So if this is real, he asks, am I just a dick, or is that just a normal thing to not notice on a first date? Curious if you guys have had anything similar.
No.
All right, to the tribunal. I mean, is he a dick?
Yeah. But
what the fuck?
Lost Kyle again. God damn it.
Well, we'll never know. We'll never know Kyle's answer.
No advice from Kyle today.
He's back.
Did you guys hear me cursing? Oh, okay.
No.
What do you think,
Sounds
Kyle?
like
Rudy seems to be on the fence on this one. I don't think he wants to share his answer.
What do I think about what he like? He should be thinking about this. She's thinking about it. I think she probably thinks about it when she goes to the grocery store. I don't know if she's still think. I don't think if she's. Wait, what am I answering?
Because your power keeps going out.
I can't fucking do this, man. I can't fucking do this, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're kind of a dick, but I think you freaked out. You didn't know what to do. And it sounded like you were already going to kind of end it. But then it's like, so what's the right thing to do? Never do it again?
Yeah. Yes. That's where we are.
You want to hit her up 3 months later and say, hey, it wasn't because of this, because that's 100 times worse than wherever you're at right now. So
is it insane that he didn't notice it? I would say no, though, because I don't think guys look at fingers. Obviously, like girls, like, did they have a wedding ring on? Guys, that's just not like, if we're talking about a list of body parts that we're looking at, it's fingers probably pretty low on that one. So
rank these four. Right. Rank these four. Fingers, shoulders, knees, and toes. Rank them. I don't know. What if
a lot of guys have toes ranked high?
If he's saying it, that's true. If he's saying that it's not because of that, why don't you just get out from under this and go on one more date
and then break it off?
Yeah, and then you could break it off. This would be like this is something Larry David would do. You know what I mean? Like he would plan another sick date and then ghost her again, and then you could get this off your conscience, and then she'll be like, well, he knows I didn't add any digits in the last 3 months, probably. So it certainly wasn't the fingers.
Well, you can't do that now. It's been too long, right?
Yeah. Why don't you just stay away from her?
I think it's over. And you know what? You screwed up. Hopefully you never see her again.
Just trying to think outside the box.
I love the Larry David thing, because you're right. Because he would try to go on another date and then break up for a very significant reason.
Maybe start a fight on the date about politics or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, that'll do it for the show today.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's good. That's good.
It sort of no idea what's going on inside over here. I'm beating up on myself too. So
hey, look, you were in the Fred Warner role right there.
Roman.
Just, not just Roman. You were having to anticipate questions that you couldn't even hear.
True. That's right.
And so, Fred's middle linebacker stuff and probably having the calls puts him in a better spot than you, Kyle. But you weren't terrible at it. You came right back in hot. So
I didn't shrink. I didn't shrink in the moment. That's for sure.
It's hard to answer questions that you don't know.
I'm here to tell you.
Put that on a shirt.
Rudy, Kyle.
One more shirt.
All right. We'll put it on the shirt list. Put it on the whiteboard. That'll do for the show today. Please subscribe to this show and tell everyone to subscribe to it and to our YouTube page, Ryen Russillo Show, part of the Barstool Network.